Good afternoon, Fabian Onetti for Winston Capital Advisors. And today is Labor Day in the United States. The markets were closed, so it's Monday afternoon. I'm sorry that I didn't send, or I'm not sending our edition earlier, but I was waiting, especially for there was, we had a lot of news in Argentina over the weekend. We're going to talk about that, and I was waiting for to have some news. There was announcements from the government which some came, so we'll discuss them now. So that's why our webcast is coming a little bit later than usually expected. Sorry about that. And happy Labor Day for all of us that took a break today, which is the official end of the summer, more or less. Tomorrow we start the last part of the year when everybody will start with a lot of energy and momentum to close, hopefully, a good year. So let's go to Argentina. As we know, over the week, President Macri announced that he was going earlier to get the money from the IMF. And as like any creditor who asked the bank to forward the money before he was scheduled to come in, the market got very worried and what's going on, what's happening. And we had a big spike on the dollar to almost 42 pesos to the dollar from the low 30s. So we had a huge drop in equities and assets in Argentina, followed by kind of expected counter-cyclical super bounce on Friday with a lot of uncertainty. The government did make some announcements this morning, basically that they're going to try to go to zero fiscal deficit this year and a primary surplus of 1.9, if I'm not mistaken, or 1.4, if I'm not mistaken, next year. There is a comment that they're going to go from 22 ministries to 11, and they're going to cut a lot of expenses. Also, they're raising some taxes on exports, which after the massive devaluation on the peso probably are going to be doing better. But I think we are, or at least my impression, I didn't have enough data. I mean, the government made some announcements, but I think it was short in some other announcements. So the issue with the ministries, for instance, is not quite clear. Some of the names that were rumored a lot are not being confirmed. Some are yes, some are not. So in a sense, we still are, lacking some details on the story. I think the market will see how it reacts tomorrow. We are missing some news. The other thing is there were some very good reports in the press saying that listen, the IMF is at stake here. Last time in '01 was a very bad experience. The IMF, to many people, didn't handle it properly. It was a lot of questioning to how they handled the problem, and now we have what's going to happen now. So the IMF is also in a way committed to try to make this a successful event. We had that the IMF did get involved in Portugal and Spain and also in Greece, kind of successful, but there also we have European money and others, which we don't have the case in the case of Argentina. So that's also an important observation there. Tomorrow, Minister of Economy Duhovne will meet with the head of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, and they're gonna, discuss how we're gonna advance the funds and what sort of adjustments Argentina will be. As many people say, the mother of all battles will be the 2019 budget, because that is when you need the opposition and everybody to vote and approve all these cuts. One of the things that the government said is they admitted that inflation is going to be 42% for the year, and also that the economy for this year will contract 2.4%. Quite severe, quite bad, and especially for those people on fixed income that the inflation will dent a lot their earnings power. So we will follow it closely. Again, tomorrow we'll be back with all that. Speaking about budget, Italy, the coalition also, it looks like it's going back to Brussels, asking for the exception of Maastricht, which established a 3% maximum fiscal deficit. Apparently, they're not going to meet it, or they don't want to meet it in exchange for some of the promises that they made in terms of social spending. The market is a little bit, cautious about, Italy going, away from sort of fiscal discipline. It was a big week for NAFTA in the United States. Mexico has arrived to a deal. Some people were skeptical. We finally got it done. It was a lot of backslapping between Peña Nieto and President Trump, and also President-elect López Obrador was happy with the agreement. The Canadians came very quick not to miss the trade. Somehow there was a deadline that I never understood why it was there on Friday. We didn't meet the deadline. However, they extended negotiations up to September 30, and both sides are very optimistic to come to an agreement. Remember then that we had now NAFTA kind of agreed. We looks like we're moving forward with better treatment on trade between the United States and the European Union. So the last assignment is China, which, by the way, we've discussed before. There are signs of deceleration in the economy, and some are related to exports. So some people say that the Chinese are highly incentivized to, come back to the table and negotiate again. So we'll follow up that. The electoral court in Brazil voted 6-1 not to allow President Lula to run again. He was a convicted felon, and as such, he is proscribed to run for any kind of election. And they have ordered the PT to remove the name from any sort of, voting cards or announcements or whatever with President Lula. We'll see how these things evolve. I mean, again, remember, this guy is #1 in the polls. Whether can he transfer that to another candidate and carry the elections? Can he not? He did that with Dilma, worked well. Eventually, Dilma got impeached, so it's not so easy at the end of the day. So we'll see what happens on that story. I mean, clearly, President Lula and the PT are claiming that this is a conspiracy and it's a political system against them. On the other hand, they say this is the law, it's being applied, end of story. So we'll follow that very closely. And then the market put a lot of emphasis this week on consumer confidence. It was the best in the last 18 years. So clearly, a buoyant, consumer, and we have very low unemployment rate. The economy doing very well on the economics, and also the market knows that and is discounting that, which I think is very positive. What we have coming this week: labor report on Friday. The market expects 187,000 new jobs. 3.8% unemployment rate. And then tomorrow, Bank of England, Mark Carney, the president, is going to talk about inflation in England. We'll follow that, related to Brexit and all that stuff. That's all we have. Like always, for our subscribers, 9:45 a.m. every day, talking about the markets. If you're not, you can find more information in Winston Capital, our webpage, or in our YouTube channel at Fabian Onetti. Have a good week.